Alright, let's get right to it. You ever have one of those days where you feel like the universe is just messing with you for sport? Yeah, that's how it started. My daughters, Lily 16, Emma just turned 14, have always had a complicated relationship with their dad's parents, Martha and Gerald. After my ex, David, died in that accident last September. Yeah, the same crash that killed his affair partner and left those two boys of theirs orphaned. Well, let's just say our family drama dialed itself up to 11. Not only did Martha and Gerald try to swoop in and get custody of my girls, but they had the audacity to suggest moving in with us, like under the same roof. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that one. But that Saturday, all I wanted was a simple day out. Just me and the girls at the farmer's market, celebrating Emma's birthday. She didn't want a big party yet, just some freedom to buy chocolate and those fancy caramels she loves. Go wild, but don't go crazy, I told her, and she just grinned and skipped off. Half an hour later, my phone rings, Emma's voice shaking, crying, telling me some people cornered her. My heart just drops. Lily and I bolt across the market, and there's Emma, trapped by a flock of church ladies, all wagging fingers, lecturing her for turning her back on family. Like my girls haven't been through enough. Already, these women didn't hold back, throwing around talk about God's judgment and how Emma should be a better big sister to her poor orphan brothers. You know that feeling where you're so angry, your hands start shaking? That was me. I stepped right in, told Lily to grab Emma's things and get to the car, and then I just let those women have it. You got a problem? Take it up with me. Not my kid. They gave me the holier-than-thou routine, blaming me for everything from the custody battle to apparently failing as a good Christian wife. We ended up getting kicked out by security. Me and my girls basically chased to our car by these women still shouting after us. That night, Emma just curled up in bed, Lily asking, "Who even were those people?" I told them, Martha's friends. From church. And honestly, it just made me madder. Later, I called Mark, one of the few church folks I still trust. He told me Martha had been spreading all kinds of garbage about us online, painting me and the girls as heartless, abandoning those boys, trying to turn everyone at church against us. I guess she told them I refused to take in the boys because they were only boys and not real family. Which, seriously, who makes that up? Now, here's the twist. This church, for all its drama, is strict about one thing: cheating. Infidelity is the unforgivable sin there. Martha tried to spin David's affair partner as a surrogate for us, like I somehow couldn't have more kids. I almost laughed out loud. But enough was enough. I had all the receipts, photos of David with Vanessa, his messages, even emails where Martha and Gerald bullied my daughters, blaming them for their dad's death just because they told me the truth. 2 days after the crash, they called my girls bastards and said it was their fault. That stuck with me. So I went full scorched earth. Printed every text, every email, every photo. Made beautiful, color-coded binders, the kind that look like prayer songbooks. The very first page, David and Vanessa making out in my living room, clear as day. I slipped them into the pile of hymn books at church. Let the congregation discover the real story for themselves. You should have seen the fallout. Facebook blew up, the pastor had to step in, and suddenly people started apologizing to my girls, apologizing for believing Martha's lies. Emma got a call from a church lady 3 days later, actually saying, "Your grandma lied to us." It didn't fix everything, but for the first time in months, it felt like the scales tipped our way. Martha and Gerald? They got shamed out of church. Martha posting on Facebook about how no one cares for the elderly anymore, how David would have taken care of her if he'd survived. Never mind whose money paid the bills, right? Mark texted me a week later. Did you see Martha's latest post? She was playing the victim, again. Some things never change. David's will. Turns out, he'd told everyone. His parents were beneficiaries, not our girls, which tells you everything you need to know about that man. I never pushed for my name to be on anything. My daughters, they're my only legacy. And speaking of legacies, let me tell you about the barn saga. I'm an architect, 15 years, licensed, built homes, offices, you name it. 3 years ago, my wife and I bought a 5-acre lot in a nice community, plenty of space for a workshop barn. HOA seemed fine. Nothing wild. Just keep your yard neat. No junkers. Submit plans for new builds. So I did. Designed a post and beam barn with stonework, cedar siding, standing seam metal roof. If you saw the blueprints, you'd think magazine cover. Permits pulled, plans submitted to the HOA a month ahead, zero feedback. So I built it. Neighbors loved it. Then, 2 days after finishing, a letter from the HOA, my barn violates the neighborhood's aesthetic standards. They wanted it modified or torn down. I went line by line through the covenants. Nothing about color, size, just a vague clause about harmony. I called the HOA president, a guy with a giant, ugly metal garage of his own, mind you. He told me my barn was too industrial looking, didn't match the neighborhood's character. I pointed out my materials, my license, all my paperwork. He said their committee hadn't reviewed my plans because they were inactive, so it didn't count. He threatened me with fines. Now here's where it gets good. I did my homework, walked the whole neighborhood, photographed every structure, every violation. Turns out, the president's garage was the worst offender, garish beige, visible from the street, totally out of place. There were at least 6 other properties breaking harmony, rules worse than me. So I put together a 50-page remediation plan, professional photos, detailed comparisons, even a color survey. I documented every violation and made it clear, either approve my barn or enforce the rules for everyone, not just me. At the next board meeting, with half the neighborhood watching, I presented everything on a projector. You could hear a pin drop. The president tried to brush it off, but another board member, a woman with some sense, called him out. Have you ever enforced these standards on anyone else? He hadn't. Got complaints from anyone but yourself? Nope. Got any real standards on paper? Not a one. By the end, the board voted. My barn was approved as is, no changes required. Even better, the president was forced to step down from all architectural reviews and eventually quit the board after complaints rolled in. Funny thing, after all that, the neighborhood adopted clear, reasonable standards for new builds. I got asked to help design them. My barn still stands, looking better than ever. The president eventually had to repaint his own eyesore garage just to sell his house. These days, I get neighbors stopping by, asking about my barn, wanting me to design one for them. Sometimes when I'm working in there, I think about how that guy tried to force me out and ended up getting booted himself. Karma, right? Anyway, that's how a couple of binders and a barn turned a year of drama into a win for my girls and me. But let's be real, justice, community, and a little bit of creative payback are what really keep a neighborhood alive. Now, what do you think? Where's the line between rules and revenge? And when does standing up for yourself cross over into something more? Drop your stories and your take below. I want to hear where you stand when it comes to fighting back for what's right.